And I'm very pleased to invite Jad Adams. Now, some of you may know Jad, some of you don't. Jad heads up the Nightwatch, which has met for how many years now, Jad, haven't you?
Since 1976.
Wow.
50 years in, 2 years.
You haven't been there that long, though, have you? Man and boy. But so, Jad, do you just stand up, Jad, and give us a start? Your title, what's the job title?
I'm chair.
You're chair, right.
Chair of the organisation.
But you're very much hands-on man as well, of course, I think.
Yeah, I
So-
continue to go out. Yes.
Yeah. Over to you. Tell us about the work of Nightwatch, please.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me here. It's very good to be here, particularly because you have been so generous for so long. That's really very much appreciated. For those of you who don't know what Nightwatch is, we're an organisation entirely composed of volunteers. There are no paid staff. We go out every single evening, that's every night of the year, and meet homeless and otherwise vulnerable people. We've been doing that since I say, as if I've been doing it since 1776. Nightwatch have been doing it since 1976, and it's always been basically the same, though we've developed tremendously since then. We now help people who've got new accommodation. We help them with furniture, we help with clothing, of course, we help with work clothes and work equipment. If someone wants to get a job, they're normally getting jobs in warehousing to start off, and in that construction, demolition, that kind of thing, for which you need steel toe cap boots. And if you haven't got that little item, which is about £25 to buy, then you simply can't even walk into the place and ask for work. You've got to provide your own safety equipment. So that's a real block on anyone doing work. And we can just give people those. That's a simple example of the sort of equipment we can simply hand over and help people to get on in their own lives. And our intention is to help people through the stages of homelessness. So we see people who are literally street homeless, and people who are in temporary accommodation, people who have other kind of challenges, they're in rehab, and people who have actually got accommodation but haven't got enough money to be able to pay their rent and their other bills, and also for food. And so we can help them with that. We see quite a lot of people who come to us having been homeless and having needed our help in the past. They don't now need our help continuously, but if their fridge or washing machine or something goes on the blink, they haven't got enough income, living on benefits or on restricted hours contracts, they haven't got enough income to be able to buy white goods, and so we supply them because we work with MAS, the furniture charity, in order to recycle furniture which has been donated. And if you do have furniture which you want to have donated, do think about MAS as the charity which could take that. So that's what Nightwatch is, and as I say, we've been out. I particularly wanted to thank you, I've just remembered, for your help over COVID when we were out throughout the whole of COVID. There was no break. One of the few organisations that continued working, and you were able to give us a huge amount of food and a lot of support at that time. We very, very much appreciated that help in time of need. I'm going to mention two things now about Croydon. One of them, two challenges that we currently face. One of them is numbers. We used to regularly see during the week 30 people. Ordinary weekday we'd see 30 people in need. That's about 5 years ago. It's now 60 people. We used to see, and at weekends where we've traditionally always seen a lot more people, we used to see 60, 70 people. Now we're seeing 80, 90, with a top number. The highest number that we've ever recorded was in April this year, 120 people. It's just a lot to deal with. Obviously we're experienced, we can handle numbers, but there is a limit to the numbers, the additional numbers that we can take, and that's a challenge that we're facing. And the reason is partly the number of volunteers that we've got, but also the facilities that we have. Church hall kitchen, somewhat like this one, the storage area we have, the amount of food that we can actually get through our organisation, the amount that we can get Tesco's to deliver, for example. They deliver £200 worth a week. It's really not enough. So we send volunteers to cash and carry at Costco and so on. But then you're talking about every week having to have the same person, often an older person available during the day, retired, having to carry all these piles of tins of goods and so on. It's an awful lot of pressure, and there's a point at which you can't do it anymore. So the numbers really are a challenge to us, and one that's been creeping up really quite fast. And so that's one challenge. The other is our location, and this has been somewhat in the news, in the local news at least. We've been in the Queen's Gardens for a very, very long time, since before it was called the Queen's Gardens, since it was Jubilee Gardens, so we're an established use there. When the gardens were going to be redeveloped, we were involved with the planners and with the people who were redesigning the gardens themselves, and we were always assured that there would be a place for us, there'd be a place for Nightwatch. However, the size of the gardens was somewhat squeezed by the new development at Queen's Court, and when the hoardings came down, it was clear there really wasn't space for us. There isn't a place that we can, because there's a big children's play area really close to where we would be. It's inappropriate for us to be there, particularly in the summer months. And so we tried a couple of alternative locations, and finally set on the corner of Queen's Gardens. There's a raised area, raised concrete area, which is above, it's on the level of the road, or just above the level of the road, of Fell Road and Catherine Street. And so we've been serving from that site, and when it's very wet, we've gone to Bernard Wetherill House, to be under the awning of Bernard Wetherill House. That's not attractive to the council, because they're trying to let Bernard Wetherill House, and they want and they don't want to have kind of permanent tenants there. I mean, we are only there when it's wet at the moment, so that's not as bad as it was from their point of view. What we want to do is to create a shelter on that little site between Fell Road and Catherine Street where we're working. So it'll be a bus shelter type thing, a kind of curve, a back and top, that sort of thing. It would be designed by architects who work with the council. One of our committee members works with a team of architects. There's really no problem in doing things which would be appropriate for the council and working through the ordinary planning arrangements and so on. What we were doing was saying to the council, by various means, we want to start talking about this, and getting absolutely no information, nothing back at all. And so via the means of working with our councillors, we got to speak to Heather Cheeseborough, who's the Director of Planning. And she said, look, go to parks, go to estates. When they agree, then, or if they discuss it, you then put in the planning application, and we'll consider it then. I should say we're not asking for anyone for any money for all this. We're perfectly capable of fundraising ourselves for it, or paying for it out of our current funds. It's out of our balances. We're not asking them for anything except that we make a provision, that we provide a shelter. We'll be using it 1 hour every day between 9:30 and 10:30. After that, the other 23 hours, it's a gift for the people of Croydon. It's available for anyone. So that was the proposition, and I was told go to speak to contact parks and estates. So go to the man involved with parks, because of his principal concern. And I got back a message, not from him, but from his boss, very intemperate, I should say, I won't quote it all, saying that they didn't want us there at all, or he didn't want us there at all, and that if we didn't leave, then the next step would be court action. When I would say to take us out of, to stop us being in the vicinity of Bernard Wetherell House or the centre of Croydon. And so I wasn't happy about this. All the councillors, in fact, all the opposition councillors, which is actually the majority of the council, signed a message of support. The Deputy Mayor, Lynn Hale, recently said, look, we didn't know about this, we didn't know this was happening. I was at a function this Friday, in fact, spoke to Jason Perry, who's the Executive Mayor, and he said, look, we're not taking it to court. And so the current situation is we still want to talk to someone about that shelter. I mean, we don't feel threatened anymore, which is nice, but we also don't feel we've got any progress. And so what we want to do is to talk about the shelter, discuss it with someone who is sensible, represents the council and is in a position to talk about these things. And this, just next week, I'm going to see the Deputy Mayor and the Head of Housing, and so I'll raise this at that meeting. Everyone's aware of this, I hope. Now you're aware of it, and so it's on the radar, and I hope we're making progress. We've got a great team of volunteers. We've got a great crowd of supporters in the borough, including, I hope, yourselves. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak.